a lot of times my friends will see this जो कि ज़्यादा automotive enthusiast नहीं हैं, उनको सिर्फ देख के मज़ा आता है like यार मुझे भी इस तरह की ले दो, and I tell them यार तुम workshop में 5-6 घंटे गुजार सकते हो, and वो usually answer is no, and then like then this is not your cup of tea, तुम एक नई गाड़ी रखो तो अच्छा. Question ourselves as well कि why are we doing this? Hi, my name is Bilal Farooq Khan. My friends and family, and I'm known in the car circle as BK. Today I'm driving a 1962 Austin Mini. So where did it all begin? I don't know. मेरी family में ऐसा किसी को गाड़ियों का शौक है नहीं. I think it's somehow, I can't even call it genetic, लेकिन you're just born with it. Even though I was not brought up as such around cars, or in a family with a lot of enthusiasm towards cars, particularly classic cars, but I don't know, somehow I caught the bug pretty early on, and since then I've been a classic car enthusiast. So my first car that I got, my project car, that was a 1970 Volkswagen Beetle. उस वक्त सारे दोस्त वगैरह थे, they were running around in Honda Civics and Charades, but I sort of wanted to do something different. I always wanted something that would be a head turner, that would be eye-catching. So I got a Beetle, mostly because I could afford a Beetle at the time. But again, getting a Beetle wasn't enough. So usko मैंने सोचा कि I really need to do something extraordinary with it. Back in the day, I used to watch a lot of Discovery Channel shows such as Overhauling or Rides and all of these American shows जिसमें वो गाड़ियों को customize करते थे. There used to be these chop shops, and Chip Foose was a big inspiration back then. So I decided to chop the Beetle. It took me a year to complete that project. It was I don't know, I like to say that it was the first chop of the country. Maybe I'm wrong, because उसी के करीब a couple of more chopped Beetles sort of appeared as well. So yeah, that was the first chop of sort of Pakistan. I chopped the roof by 6 inches, widened the fenders by 3 inches each. So it was something totally unique. I've had the car ever since. I think it's been close to, so 2006, you do the math, काफ़ी सारे साल हो गए उसके. It's actually in the workshop. I'm repainting it for the 5th time this year. And this time I'm gonna do, again, the upholstery is gonna get done and वो सारी चीज़ें हो जाएंगी. So back in the day, when I was making the Beetle, when you're young, you're mostly stupid. So I put in a big engine in the Beetle. Beetle का जो अपना engine आता है, so that's hardly 40 horsepower. I put in a Toyota 4EGE 20 valve 4 throttle, which was out of the crate. It was 160 horsepower. Then I built it up to almost 180 horsepower. So it was probably the craziest Beetle in the country. So again, usme over time you realize that this is a little bit of an overkill. Then I toned it down. So I've had 4 engines changed in the Beetle, and पिछले 6 सालों से now I have a smaller 660 cc turbo unit in it. Why do I go with the original engine? So इस पे भी काफ़ी जो purists हैं classic car community के वो शायद इसको इतनी अच्छी नज़र से नहीं देखते. But I believe in driving these cars daily. With the original engine, there are a lot of problems. It's not like they're not reliable. आप उनको भी, if you spend enough time and money, they can be very reliable as well. But I like my cars कि मैं support हूँ, start किया. So it looks like an old car, but it drives like a new reliable car. So again, I'm a very big fan of Japanese engines that way. So while I was building my Beetle, I spotted दो भाई थे हमारे ही पेशावर के classic car community के. They were building 2 minis. So I fell in love with the car. I was like, okay, this is on my wish list. I have to have a mini. So back in the day, I was a student. I couldn't afford to have 2 projects going together. Lekin at least I think 10-15 years later, I stumbled across this mini in Karachi. Iski bhi badi interesting story hai. So minis are It's been 5 years that I got this, लेकिन पिछले 4-5 सालों से जो है मिनीज़ थोड़ी नापैद होना शुरू हो गई हैं and people are demanding absolutely crazy money for them. I was lucky enough, इसकी भी बड़ी interesting story है. So when the gentleman posted the ad for sale, मैंने जब उन्हें कॉल की, he was very annoyed क्योंकि अब they're in very high demand, so probably a lot of people had called him already. So उन्होंने straight forward कहा कि भाई ये गाड़ी है, इतने की है और इसके डॉक्यूमेंट कोई नहीं है and this and that. I was like okay, so I was bent on getting the car. I didn't care if it had documents or not. मैंने कहा चले देखते हैं. So I was like अच्छा क्या है आपके पास, is there any proof of registration or anything? He was like जी जो documents गुम हो गए थे, I have the CNIC copy of the owner और उनका जो है FIR की कॉपी है कि डॉक्यूमेंट्स गुम हो चुके हैं. आज लाइक आप मुझे उसकी तस्वीर भेजें. सो अगेन एंड दिस नॉट जस्ट मी, ठीक है, जो आपके जितने क्लासिक कार एंथुसियास्ट हैं, दिस इज़ नॉर्मल रूटीन फॉर देम कि वो फिर दे गो हंटिंग, ठीक है. सो वो CNIC से मैंने उन जनाब का एड्रेस निकाला. आई कॉन्टैक्टेड कपल ऑफ पीपल इन कराची, लाइक आप इनके घर जाके ज़रा पता करेंगे. मेरे पास एक मिनी होती थी, सो इफ़ आई वांट टू टेक आउट डुप्लीकेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स तो क्या होगा, उनका फ़ोन नंबर ले लें. So they went there, they got me a phone number, I called, he was an elderly gentleman, उसे मेरी गपशप लगी. So like जी बेटा बिल्कुल गाड़ी थी, वो मैंने बेच दी थी, तब मुझसे डॉक्यूमेंट्स गुम गए थे and recently I found the documents and ये है कि तब तो मैंने गाड़ी बड़ी सस्ती बेची थी क्योंकि डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं थे. So if you pay me for the documents, आप जो है डॉक्यूमेंट्स ले लें. I was like ठीक है जी आप. So I bought the documents from him, bought the car from the other gentleman, ठीक है, and both of them don't know that I have both of them right now. So again a stroke of luck. काफ़ी बार इस तरह की chances आपको मिल जाते हैं, काफ़ी बार chances आपसे मिस हो जाते हैं. So then I had the car shipped from Karachi to Peshawar and it took me again almost a year to complete this. The car didn't have its original engine. इसमें किसी ने 660 Japanese engine डाला हुआ था, but it was a carbureted engine. Carbureted engines aren't that reliable. So then it was a sort of a decision time for me कि भाई इसमें should I go with the original engine? उसमें आपको 800 cc मिल जाता है, 1000 cc मिल जाता है, 1300 cc मिल जाता है. बट चूँकि ये गाड़ी it's a British made car, that's why there's a Union Jack on the roof as well. This is how they came from the factory. But because it's a British car, उन्होंने ये इसको अपने मौसम के मुताबिक बनाया था. चूँकि ब्रिटेन में टेम्परेचर्स 50 डिग्री तक नहीं जाते, so they're okay to run over there. या यूरोप में हमें चूँकि यहाँ पे गर्मियों में टेम्परेचर 49-50 तक चला जाता है, so these cars tend to overheat in their original engines. So again, as I said, I really like to drive these classics on a daily basis, and because the original engine was already missing, so I again went with a 660 cc turbocharged engine from a 2016 Suzuki Stingray, and I have been driving it daily ever since. तकरीबन इसके 3-4 साल हो चुके हैं. I go to work in this, I go to the shops in this, and basically it is a daily driver. लेकिन again there is a lot of patience involved. For example, अगर इस गाड़ी की मैं आपको एग्जांपल दूँ, so अभी भी इसकी डिग्गी में एक जो है आफ्टर मार्केट रेडिएटर पड़ा हुआ है, which is yet to go on to the car. इसमें कुछ बाकी इसके सस्पेंशन के बिट्स पड़े हुए हैं जो कि महीना पहले US से मुझे मिले. फिर इसका जो है जो अंदर रियर व्यू मिरर पड़ा हुआ है वो आई हैड टू इम्पोर्ट फ्रॉम द यूके. इसके साइड मिरर्स आई हैड टू इम्पोर्ट फ्रॉम द यूके, एंड बिकॉज मनी इज़ टाइट यू हैव टू वेट अ कपल ऑफ मंथ्स. एंड देन फिर आने जाने का भी मसला होता है. जब कोई आ रहा होता है, आप किसी को रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं यार इंग्लैंड से पार्ट्स ला दो, दुबई से ला दो, US से ला दो, तो आपको जो है इट टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. द इंटीरियर अपहोल्स्ट्री का जितना आप देख रहे हैं जो कपड़ा वगैरह है, दैट आई गॉट फ्रॉम कराची बिकॉज आई हैड अ सर्टन आइडिया इन माई हेड कि भाई इस तरह का इंटीरियर होना चाहिए. So again, these cars, they take a lot of effort and time and money to sort of restore, get on the road and drive on an everyday basis. Meanwhile, when I was building the Mini, so I always had this wish कि मुझे I need a Vespa as well. So this is again a long time ago. अब आजकल I'm really glad to see that there's a revival of Vespas everywhere. हर कोई build कर रहा है, बना रहा है. So back in the day इतना नहीं था, लेकिन I really wanted a Vespa as well. So I ended up going on OLX in fact, and I got a Vespa from Islamabad. I had no clue. Interestingly, when I went to buy the Vespa, I knew how to ride a bike, but I didn't know how to ride a Vespa. मुझे नहीं था पता गियर कैसे लगते हैं, चीज़ें कैसे होती हैं. So the buyer actually told me कि अच्छा आप इसको इस तरह करें, इसको इस तरह करें, and वो डील हमारी हो गई, and I bought the Vespa. So that was sort of my first bike in a way that I restored अगेन उसको भी जो है कुछ अरसा लगा, पहले उसको मैंने एक तरह से रिस्टोर किया, देन आई पेंटेड इट, then because that was a later model, that was a 1970, the same model as my Beetle. फिर मिनी थी तो मिनी के साथ कभी वेस्पा चाहिए था, so then I bought another Vespa which is 1962, same as my Mini. Again it's an older model, अभी currently वो under restoration है. I'm done with the engine work, उसका भी जो है I'm yet to do the denting and the paint वगैरह. Meanwhile I then recently last year जैसे ही actually I think COVID is now 2 years ago, so 2020 March में then this other car came up for sale. I always wanted a convertible sort of sports car, so a Mazda Miata came up for sale. तो वो चूँकि COVID था, I think the gentleman's business was struggling a little bit, he needed some money, so I jumped at the opportunity. I ended up getting the car. So वो मैंने ख़रीदी. So it's a Japanese sports car from the 90s. It's one of the top 10 JDM legends जिसे हम कहते हैं, उसमें से एक गाड़ी है. It's a Gen 1 Mazda Miata. Again so we call it a modern classic. उस लिहाज से इतनी पुरानी वो शायद नहीं है, लेकिन उसको फिर मैंने वो तो it was in a better state, लेकिन again with all these cars you want to customize them to your own taste. So उसको मुझे थोड़ा टाइम लगा बनाने में, and now so I drive that around on the weekends as well. Similarly फिर बाकी कुछ दोस्त वगैरह थे, उनका जो है बाइक्स का काफ़ी शौक़ था मेरे दोस्तों वगैरह को, हैवी बाइक्स का, स्पोर्ट्स बाइक्स का. I personally I think it is as much of an adrenaline rush that it gives you, उतनी ही ख़तरनाक चीज़ है. So again I think the rational part of me sort of won over, and I never ended up getting a sports bike, but I did end up getting a classic sports bike which is a Yamaha Tzr 250. उसमें भी ख़ास बात यह है कि it's probably one of two in the country. I only know of two of them. एक मेरे पास है, एक I think कराची में एक gentleman है उनके पास है. So two-stroke bikes are pretty rare that way, especially sports category में. So I think 250 cc's is just enough कि आप उसको जो है daily उस पर चला सकते हैं. Again I'm very proud of that purchase as well. उसके साथ when I got that bike, so उसका एक छोटा twin आता है, that's a Yamaha YSR 50cc. So I basically got that for my son. He's pretty small, 2 साल का है, बीच फ़िलहाल चला नहीं सकते, लेकिन I hope to make those two bikes look the same so that we can both ride together. Again, it's a 2-stroke 50cc. Another one, I think probably one of my favorite bikes that I own is a Honda Cub. Honda Cub is supposedly इसको काफ़ी जो है with all the Hayabusas and Ducatis and all of that, but people still consider Honda Cub to be one of the best bikes in the world. It's the Beetle of bikes. जिस तरह के Beetle was one of the most sold cars in the world, तो इस तरह से Honda Cub was the most sold bike in the world. It's one of the most reliable things in my garage. जब कुछ भी नहीं चल रहा होता, the Cub always starts, always takes you. It's 50cc. आप पेट्रोल डाल के भूल जाते हैं कि भाई मैंने कब इसमें लास्ट टाइम पेट्रोल डाला था. Very fuel efficient. You get to see a lot of them in Karachi. लेकिन very interesting bike. It's a semi-automatic bike, and I think for around town it's a very good commuter bike. Again, most of it it is a lifestyle. आपको जो है with work, with family, पहले with education, managing this is आपको जो है, मैं रात को 12-12, 1-1 बजे भी वर्कशॉप से आया हूँ. हार्ट ब्रेक्स भी होते हैं. You spend a lot of time, money, energy into fixing a car for a certain car show or certain rally. एक रात पहले गाड़ी ख़राब हो जाती है. So again, literally blood, sweat and tears are involved in this hobby. और जो है आपको बड़ा दिल रखना पड़ता है.